Well, Homer, thank you for coming on the show, brother. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me, man. Sorry we went back and forth, but I'm glad to finally be on.
Yeah, it took us a little while, but as such, we're here nonetheless. I want to say, dude, I love your content. I came across you on Instagram for a while before I saw you on Twitter, but your Instagram's awesome. I feel that it's very much almost the peak of what social media can be, especially from your perspective as a tool to network and share a message, but also from the consumer's perspective. I try to consume very intentionally, and you're one of the people I consume intentionally. So I want to thank you for the intention and the care that you put into your social media. I think it's awesome.
Thank you, man. No, I really appreciate that, and I appreciate following you as well. It's definitely, the Homer Helios world has helped me kind of become more intentionally with the way that I use and interact with content as well. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, there's this. I wrote a newsletter about it last week, but the idea of social media being a tool is something I
Hmm.
think is so. Because I for a while I was like anti social media. I like hated it. I had no
Yeah, yeah.
Instagram, no Twitter, no
Hmm.
Snapchat. I was like, this sucks. It's taking people away from the real world, whatever. But about a year ago, I decided to start creating content, and there's this paradigm that I always use where it's creation over consumption,
Yeah, for sure.
which I'm sure you can relate to. But I'm actually curious now that you just mentioned this. What's the idea behind Homer Helios? Like, is there any cool story behind that name?
Well, Helios, obviously the sun god. I'm a absorber for life, so I'm always out in the sun. I'm always outside. And Homer is my middle name, but also famous classic poet. So I blended them, and it worked out.
Dude, that because it's a hell of a name. That's awesome. That's a great
Thank
middle
you, bro.
name.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm trying to make it the first name.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. No, that's a solid pseudonym, you could say. But you're in Miami, right? You're born and raised there.
Born and raised. Yeah, one of the few.
It's funny you say that because one of my good buddies from college is also one of the few. He's from like the Coral Gables area. I think he went to like Christopher Columbus High School or something like that is
Cool.
what it's
Yeah,
called.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I lived in the Gables for a little while. It's a
Yeah,
great neighborhood.
yeah. I went down and visited him, dude. Miami, as a white dude who's not from there, it's like overwhelming a little bit. I went and it wasn't like a very chill. We were getting after it a little bit in our college days, and
Hmm.
it it was fun, but it was like holy shit, this is a lot of action.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But even if you go to the Gables, I feel like not many tourists just stop by Coral Gables. So that was probably a cool little insight into what the part of Miami that a lot of people don't see. A lot of people just see like fashion, clothes, and fast cars and shit, and that's not really the full picture of it if you grew up here, at least.
Yeah, going to South Beach is a lot different.
Yeah, exactly. South Beach, Gables, and anything that's not Brickell or downtown is a cool. It's a different vibe for sure.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's also as you mentioned, zorbing, which is a term that you more or less evangelize, which I love.
Yeah,
It's a good spot to zorb, man. It's
for
sunny,
sure.
it's warm, the beaches are awesome. It's like part of
Yeah,
the culture almost.
yeah, yeah, definitely. You can make it part of the culture because there's a lot of people that grew up here that barely ever go to the beach, which I don't understand. But it's interesting because like before I was really into health and getting sun and everything. I kind of for a good like 5 6 years I hated Miami. I wanted to leave. I wanted mountains, which I still really love the mountains. But I've come to really appreciate it for the fact that I mean it's basically year round sunshine. We have like maybe 10 days of winter max.
Yeah. No, so I went to Virginia Tech to play baseball, and my buddy from Miami, who was born and raised there, Virginia Tech can be very very cold. Like
Yeah.
it's in the mountains of Virginia. In the winter, it's like it's legit. It's not your everyday cold. It's like snowing sideways, feeling like you're getting thrown knives at. But
Damn.
I always joke with him, and we would always joke because he ended up transferring. And I'm like, "You want to come back to Virginia Tech?" He's like, "I'm never going back there again." Like he transferred to like FIU, I think. So it's just or
Okay. True.
I can't remember where. But regardless,
FIU
it's like
probably.
once you leave, it's like you sort of remember how great having the sun is all year round.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely took it for granted most of my life, but this will probably be at least home base for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. The I don't know if it's still like a pin post, but I remember seeing a post from yours about like a pretty gnarly transformation you've had. from like a
Yeah.
physique standpoint, and obviously underneath that, it's obviously like a more spiritual and just holistic lifestyle
Hmm.
persona shift. I would love for you to share some insight into that journey, man, because it's a pretty aesthetically, it's like a pretty
Yeah.
massive transformation.
Thanks, man. Yeah, man. And it's cool that you pointed out like the spiritual side of things, because I think like the way that you interact with yourself and your thoughts and the way that you feel about yourself and the world around you really does show up on the outside. Obviously, that comes with going hard in the gym, eating right, making sure everything's in line. But I think it definitely stemmed from just kind of growing into your own and realizing that you have to prioritize your priorities as you age. Like there's a little voice inside you that always knows what you have to be doing, or the things in your life that you should be giving intention and attention to. But I think just with outside influences growing up, you kind of swayed in either direction, and you kind of lose that inner compass. So I always have had this semblance of wanting to be like peak optimal shape, wanting to be healthy, wanting to create and perform and kind of carve my own path. But you kind of just fall in line a little bit with other people and other people's mindsets, and not that they're doing anything wrong, but it really just takes kind of this level of courage to kind of pull back the veil and pay attention to what you want to pay attention to, and kind of nurture what makes you, your passions, your curiosities. And diving into that rabbit hole and walking down that path has led me to, a life that I really, really am grateful for. So it's been a great journey.
Yeah, that's incredible. There's so much to dive in there too. The one thing I'm reminded of is the idea. I've heard about it from a mentor of mine on several occasions over the last few weeks, and then I even saw somebody tweet about it recently. But like the idea of you're born, like I believe that God creates us. We're born in God's image. We're born like spiritually perfect, and the fallibility of humankind, the fallibility of man, as as we grow older and become indoctrinated by humans,
Yeah.
we start adding on these negative programs, these like viruses, you could say, and the whole idea is like it's not necessarily becoming it's not like adding on a bunch of stuff to become like your most fulfilled version of you, or like the highest version of you. It's actually like stripping away as much
Yeah.
of that conditioning as you possibly can and getting back to
Yeah.
like the root. I don't know if you can
Yeah.
relate
And
to that.
that takes a lot of like programming. Like you need to do a lot of rewiring the mind, making sure like, your eyes are the visible brain. So what are your eyes looking at on a daily basis? What are you paying attention to? That's going to probably affect your mental health, your mental state, your mindset, and how you approach your reality. So that's definitely huge. And I think, yeah, the more that we can like deconstruct ourselves and get back to that basal God's image form, which, is basically pretty much impossible in today's world. We are fallible no matter what, but trying to, everyone thinks like this idea of wanting to be perfect is so toxic, but it's not. You need to be able to like draw a line where you're just trying to be the best version of you. You're never going to be perfect, but it's that pursuit that makes you, full and whole and happy.
Yeah, it's the refinement process, dude. That's a really good way of putting it. You're
Yeah.
never, yeah, obviously we're never going to be perfect. That'd be a slightly arrogant thing like the earnest pursuit of perfection, I guess, like in thinking you can actually acquire that is probably a pretty arrogant and uh, like egotistical pursuit. But it's almost like a dichotomy or a paradox that like in that pursuit is when you become the best version of yourself as well, I think. And I think
Yeah.
that's a noble. I think that's a noble journey. Because on that note, when you have like this programming from all these other people, and I'm actually curious about your journey with this as well. Did you go to college?
Briefly.
Briefly.
Yeah.
So I have this
To
idea.
FIU as well, like your friend. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. State of Miami.
Yep.
I have this idea that like, okay, so you're born, most people, this is like the American and perhaps other countries, but the American journey is like you're born 4 or 5 years old, you start to go to like pre-K and elementary school, which is a school district, so you're indoctrinated to that organization. Then you go to middle school, you're indoctrinated a little bit more. Then you go to high school and you're indoctrinated a little bit more. and then you go to
Mm.
college and you're indoctrinated even more, like probably
Yeah,
the most of your youth, and
especially
then
now.
you go from college, and what do most people do? Not that it's right or wrong. I just think this is the journey objectively for a lot of people. You go to a corporation,
Hmm.
which is another organization, which
Yeah.
indoctrinates you further. So it's just this series of indoctrinations that like kind of remove people from their ability to separate, if that makes sense. And so my question,
Hmm.
if all this is making sense up to this point, is like, how did you? Because you're obviously carving your own path, which you mentioned was like a mission of yours. How did you create enough gravity or like your own gravitational pull to like separate from the indoctrination of your childhood, if that makes sense? Because a lot of
Yeah.
people never do that.
Yeah, it is really this series of separation and like all those different layers that you mentioned. And really, it was kind of, it was always a voice inside my head that I knew something was going to happen within me that I was kind of going to break through. But I feel like a lot of people have that voice and don't really listen to it. And I didn't listen to it for a very long time either. But I think it was probably around COVID, but that was kind of like that really pushed it. I was just kind of realizing that, if I don't do what I want out of life, I'm not gonna, like, if nothing changes, nothing changes. If you're just keeping on the status quo and conforming to every circle you're in, or every role, every job, every position, everywhere you show up, you're conforming to what they want you to be, then you're simply never going to be who you want to be fully. Whether or not you're 30, 40, 50, like, you're going to realize this, and you might as well realize it now while you're still young, and you kind of still have that chance and that plasticity to take a chance and take a risk and grab life by the balls, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think it was when I really saw like the lies of the pandemic, and I started really diving deep into nutrition and the lies with our health and fearing the sun, and just this whole blanket of fear that is all interwoven into everyone's mindset, and they kind of just live a life to make sure that they fall in line, and the like society isn't laid out, at least it wasn't. Feel like it's probably helping a lot of people now, but the outliers don't really have a place. So I think leaning into what makes you different, and leaning into what made me an outlier, and focusing on, who says you can't make a life out of like movement, health, the breath, and like just focusing on these things. And the fact that I saw like an outlet like social media and like the internet making people have a life and create this life that they want to live through just leaning into their passions, it made me realize that it was much more possible, and that barrier to entry was much less. So I was able to kind of just fit into that little hole there.
Yeah, COVID. It's interesting now. I'm drawing this thread. I feel like that whole the whole period of time, the whole pandemic, plandemic, as my doctor back in Atlanta would say. But
Nice.
that's how you know he's a base doctor.
Base for sure, yeah.
Yeah. But that whole period, like, that's an inflection point for a lot of people's lives that I've talked to.
Yeah.
Like that period of time where it's like you're kind of confronted with like, maybe it's like the reality that things are not as they seem, or that there is negative and dark and evil forces that are at play against us, and
Hmm.
maybe like the blatancy with which these forces acted, trying to like hurt us just into this funnel. I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of people, and maybe it's like optimistically naive, but like I feel like a lot of people were like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like,
Yeah.
on a grand scale, they're like, wait, something's up. But on a personal scale, on an individual scale, like yourself, you were like,
Hmm.
okay, this is the time where I need to make the change in me, you know, which
Yeah.
I think is so powerful.
Yeah, it was just a test, and either you passed that test, or you saw there was a test and you were aware of it, but you still kind of like fell back into that old version of yourself. I think for a lot of people, it was kind of a blooming moment to kind of become the best version of themselves, which is interesting, being that, we were all separated and forced to stay inside, but a lot of people were able to find their way out of that, which is awesome.
Yeah, I want to get into like social media's impact on that, but before we get too far away from it, the transformation I mentioned, I'm curious.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know if do you know what post I'm talking about? I think you did a post on
Yeah,
that.
yes, definitely, I do.
Go to his Instagram, and I'll link it in the show notes. Go and find this post, because it's a pretty wild physical transformation. And I'm curious, like, from a practical standpoint, what were like the levers that you hit that you found were like the biggest levers for you, that you were like the things that the three, or maybe, I don't know, five things that you did that like that you saw the biggest results from?
Yeah, I think it's definitely three pillars. It's is, revolving everything you do around getting sunshine, like making sure that you're getting your sunlight on a daily basis. Removing processed foods, anything that isn't fake. If you're a real person, you look at your hands, you're real, right? So why are you eating fake garbage? It's going to make you fake garbage. So, which is what that before picture was, just a nothing physique, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
not a respectable image. So you want to be respected. You want to feel real and like you have control of your reality. So eat real foods. And the last one, which I feel like is slept on, no pun intended, is sleeping more. Like, you have to really be sleeping if you're going to be training hard. Your recovery is where all your your muscle protein synthesis is going on. Your mental recovery, everything is happening in sleep. So making sure that your circadian rhythm is in line, you're eating right, and you're getting sunshine. Those. I mean, there's obviously many more and little levers to pull, but those are the big three for me.
Yeah, I'm aligned in all those. I kind of want to dive into each one.
Hmm.
Let's start with sleep because I'm reminded as soon as you said that Habib Nurmagomedov,
Hmm.
arguably, I mean, maybe not the best. John Jones probably the best, but one of the best
You're
top
Dana
three.
White over here,
Yeah,
John Jones stan.
I love John Jones,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
But
so
nonetheless, one of the best fighters in UFC history and probably MMA history.
yeah,
I saw a video of him talking about it, and he's like, he was talking about sleep. He literally, what he would do was, he would wake up, he would train, then he'd sleep more, and then he'd train, and then he'd go to sleep. He's like, people don't sleep anymore, and so that's like,
interesting,
when
cool.
you hear an athlete of that caliber, that, I mean, I don't think he ever lost. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
no,
okay, yeah, check. Let me listen to what Habib's saying. Like, that makes sense to me. So it sounds
yeah,
like you have a similar philosophy.
yeah, definitely. I mean, he's wrestling bears and he's hibernating like a bear too. Like, you gotta be sleeping 8 to 9 hours, man. And it's not just like, let's say you go to sleep at 1 a.m. and you sleep 8 hours till 9 a.m. That's not the same quality sleep as if you're going to sleep, let's say, 9, 10 to 6 or 7. That's probably going to be that's going to hit the hardest because we're literally designed, obviously, I mean, this is like a broken record now, but to fall with the sunset and I mean, to fall asleep with the sunset and rise with the sunrise. That's just, there's no way around it. That's just the optimal way. That's the optimal pattern that you should be sleeping and waking. And living here by the beach now, like, just being able to hobble my half asleep self over to the sunrise has been such a blessing.
Oh, that's a game changer, I bet. I just spent some time
Yeah,
down in Florida with like Noah and Eric, who I
yeah, I
think
saw
think
that.
you're connected with. Yeah, but they have a sweet spot, and it was literally that exact thing. Wake up, I slept on the couch, so I was just waking up, walking outside, going to the dock, and literally just like half asleep, just staring at the sun, and I could feel myself and doing like some movement. I could
Yeah,
just feel myself wake up more energized, more focused, and I'm sure you can
yeah.
relate to that. Just going, getting in the water for you too. That's probably pretty nice.
Yeah, the water. I have a whole like routine of movement now. I'm trying to get into like tai chi a bit, like just
Mm,
swinging and just getting the energy flowing, jumping, the lymphatic drainage. You literally feel like your eyes wake up more, like you took a shot of coffee. It's
yeah.
it's it's crazy. It just works. And even if you can't go to the beach, like, that's obviously the best case, but find a patch of grass, look up at the sun, and jump 100 to 200 times. Like, you're not going to want to knock back out after that.
Oh, absolutely not. I love the jumping's like part of my morning routine. I usually like I'll do like an oil pull, and then
Nice.
when I just go outside and like just jump up and down, um, give myself a couple slaps just to
Yeah,
wake the
yeah,
body up. And like it might sound crazy, but um, it legitimately works. So
yeah.
it's
No, it's
like
like
I don't really care.
Chinese. It's like a Chinese medicine thing where they like tap and they tap their whole body to get the
Yeah,
blood flowing.
that's what, dude. I saw. I went the doc that I was talking about. I saw Noah and Luke doing something. They were like rubbing and tapping their chest, and then like Noah does this thing where he slaps the inside of his legs. I'm like, that's funny. But I just
Yeah,
did it. I'm
yeah,
like, this actually works. But the jumping is awesome too, because I mean I don't know much about the lymphatic system. I just know that it's important to get your blood flow going. And it's funny also now that you look back on things a while like that happened a while ago with the knowledge that you know now, and
hmm.
you sort of like tie these threads. I used to have a coach. I don't know if you know much about baseball, but Tommy John surgery. Have you ever heard of that?
No, no.
Okay, so it's like the most common surgery in baseball. Nonetheless, um, his name was Tommy John. He was the son of the guy who got that surgery. But he was this like holistic doctor. Like
Cool.
people thought he was the weirdest dude for a long time, just because he's like doing. For example, one time there was this picture that went on social media, and he literally just went on a hike on the side of the road carrying a table over his head as a workout. Like just literally
Nice.
carrying a table. He's that type of guy.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I preface all that to say he's a freaking G, and in many ways, I still utilize health lessons that he taught me.
Nice.
But he would always do this jumping stuff. And back
Hmm.
when I was a kid, I'm like, the hell are you doing, man? You know, so he's just like jumping up and down.
Yeah.
Here I am 10 years later, jumping up, doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, man. You fear and you like scorn at what you don't understand, right? Until you
Yeah.
understand it, and it makes all the sense in the world.
And you're like, oh, wait, he was right. And there's also, this
Yeah.
is a little interesting idea I've been pondering around. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. Like, you talk about the separation, like being able to separate yourself from, like, societal programming and all that. I feel that to do so, and it's the same with discipline, like, you have to do some arbitrary things or things that might appear arbitrary that are counter to the mainstream just to be able to build that muscle. And one of them, to me, like the jumping or going on shirtless, shoeless walks in a neighborhood where nobody does that, where they're
Yeah.
like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" Or just random stuff like that. Do you feel that? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I call it like a reality bending.
yeah,
Like if people are looking at you weird, you're probably doing something right, man. Like I used to walk around. I mean, classic like Chad visual, but you're walking around no shoes, no shirt, jumping on trees and doing pull ups, and people driving by are just giving you weird looks, and it's almost like some people will like diminish them, but it would made me feel better.
hmm
Literally was like, yeah, dude, why are you not doing this? This makes sense. Yeah.
it's something you just mentioned too. It's also like many times you have people like through the grapevine, somebody will make an offhanded comment, and then a third party will be like, "Dude, I heard this guy talking about how he saw this guy walking with no shoes or shirt." But then you
Yeah.
also have dudes who are like, "Let's go," like
Yeah.
respect, and so you
Yeah.
can build a little camaraderie there too. I mean, many of friends were made by like working out shoeless and shirtless outside. You know?
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's a big thing. I'm glad you said that. Like, if you see somebody, a lot of people like hold this energy in, but if I see somebody like doing pull-ups on somewhere random in the middle of the street, I give them a thumbs up. I'm like, good shit, man. Like, if you're doing anything that's for your health, just out in the open, like, you should be like just giving people their flowers when they deserve them.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it just
Yeah,
builds up the whole. It just it's positive energy being put out there. I think it builds you up and it also encourages them. But I do think it's an important muscle to build. Like one of them, full candor, is like sunning balls. I think that's
yeah,
like that is so
definitely.
counter to the culture. Like
Yeah,
if you told a random person at like a coffee shop that you're about to go like sun your balls, they
yeah,
would probably think you're crazy. But
yeah,
even just like, and obviously don't do it in public, but like even that muscle of like knowing that that's counter to 99.9% of what people do. I don't know. And there's efficacy behind it too. But so that was sleep.
yeah,
Go ahead.
and even if it is in public, like just sun your balls, man.
You're about to catch a charge, bro.
Yeah, no, just kidding.
There's these shorts now. Have you seen those like they're like sun through shorts? Have you seen
Yeah, yeah, I have. I don't know about all that.
Yeah, that's a little much. But okay, so that's sleep. I guess that's kind of sun too, just because. I mean, it's pretty evident that your name is Homer Helios. Like, very important to you.
Yeah, but also just training outside too. Like before I lived out here in the beach, I would try to prioritize lifting outside as much as I possibly could. You know, the gym is a place to get jacked, but it's not necessarily the best place to like stay healthy. You know, you're getting recycled air, you're under blue light, and I mean, it's good every now and then if I want to get like a legitimate session. But since I've been out here, it's just training outdoors. You can buy your own dumbbells, your own kettlebells, and just go outside and get a workout in.
Dude, something that lesson right there is so important to me, and I align with that a ton. There's a gym in Austin called Squatch, which is where like me and a lot of my buddies go. It's
Cool.
indoor, outdoor, so massive garage doors.
Nice.
It's hot as it's literally like a sauna. There's no AC in there. It's just hot as hell
Yeah,
in the summer.
love
But they
that.
also have outdoor racks, outdoor turf areas. You
Mm,
can lift with no shoes, no shirt. And so the point being, what's really important to me, that it sounds like it's very important to you as well. And actually, I would like you to speak on it if you can. But like habit stacking, like okay, you can go to the gym and you can get a pump, which is good. So you can build muscle and you can train. That's one thing.
mhm.
But then you have all these negatives that are below it. Or you could go outside, maybe not be able to lift as heavy weights, but you're grounding, you're in the sun, you probably you're breathing in fresher air, you're probably under less EMF exposure unless you're underneath like a 5G tower. But you
Yeah,
see what I'm saying? Like the habit
yeah,
stacking is so important. I want to hear your thoughts on that if you don't
yeah,
mind.
yeah, definitely, man. I mean, I think it just also breeds this like ideation. Like when you're outdoors in this fresh air, you have a different air about your thoughts even while you're working out. Like I've had the best ideas for post or content or just business ideas when I'm working out outside. So yeah, man, if you can hit as many birds with one stone as you possibly can, especially while you're working out, it's going to be much bigger bang for your buck, and it's free. Like you don't have to pay for a gym membership to go outside.
Yeah, Case Bradford, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
Yeah,
Case
yeah,
Bradford,
legend.
dude, I think he's been gym free. He's absolutely jacked, and he's been gym free for like 7 or 8 years or something.
Really, damn. Hey,
Uh,
are there free weights over there in
maybe
Venice?
not, maybe not 7 8 years now that I say that, but he's been gym free for a long time. What he does, he goes to like, I think he's from somewhere in SoCal, but he does like, I mean, you see him, he'll just like hang upside down on
Yeah,
bars. He'll do
yeah,
pull-ups, he'll do kickboxing. Um, but it's just proof that you don't necessarily need a gym. I think I don't want to like demonize gyms, but it is kind of a cope, because what I've also seen is people like, oh, I don't have time to go to the gym today. I can't work
uh-huh.
out, and I've done that. I'm not casting shade on people. Like I've literally
Yeah,
been like in the past, I've been like, okay, well, I can't go to the gym. Looks like I can't go get a workout in. Go outside and do push-ups in the sun, or go outside and do burpees, or go outside and do lunges. You know, it's almost better for you.
yeah. A lot of people hate on burpees, man, because they're like so torturous. But you do some burpees, you do 10 sets of 10 burpees. That's like a full body workout in itself, man.
100%. If you can do it while
Yeah,
you're grounded in the sun too, come on now.
exactly.
Okay, the third pillar, processed foods. I'm in obviously 100% alignment with that.
Yeah.
That's still, and I'll make a comment on this real quick, because I've been talking about this with a few people recently. You know how like in the health space, obviously we're both in like sort of like the health Twitter, health Instagram, whatever you want to call it, esoteric if you want to call it that. I would just say alternative more or less. But um, there's all this idea. It's such a like a niche community that like you hear people talk about like beef tallow companies and mace to gum companies, for example. Those are the two that I've heard the most of. But they hear this idea of like, okay, enough of those. The market's saturated. And
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, uh, let's take a step back and look at it from a broader picture. 99.9% of people don't know what mace to gum is, and if you told them you put beef tallow on your skin, they'd think you're crazy.
Yeah.
So make more of them. Everybody make more of it. Like we need more and more and more and more and more. And
Yeah.
on that note, like processed foods, I think is still like the vast majority of human beings, especially in the West, still don't view processed foods in the light that they're actually that they exist in.
Yeah.
And so
And I
it sounds
mean,
like that's
and
pretty big for
there's
you.
there's so many. You go to the cereal aisle. There's tons of brands of cereal. So why can't there be tons of tallow brands and tons? There's
Yeah,
Colgate and all these other brands. Like obviously, there's room. If we want to really make a difference, you're gonna have to put it in front of people's eyes. It's just the same people that are seeing the same brands, but over time that exposure will widen and it'll just make sense. And yeah, man, there's so many like with these types of things. Like I really like to keep it very like ape like
hmm
like obviously I can cite all the studies and we can talk about why seed oils are so harmful and all these different things, but at the end of the day, like if you keep it simple, like we all these modern diseases and chronic inflammation that everyone is getting and dying early from, like these have not been around for forever. The only thing that is new that has obviously changed it is our diet, which is just straight processed garbage for like just for some corporation's profit margin. It's sad. Like I literally heard the other day that this, I forgot if it was grain or what exact, I think it was like Kellogg's, but they basically send the proper, you know how in Europe there's like the different grains where it's healthy for people, and
hmm
here in America it's like processed and toxic, that they're making two different types of grains to send to either America or to Europe. So there's an obvious line that you have to draw. Besides, if it's whole foods, you could eat it. I'm not even gonna say the whole like animal based thing. Like
hmm
if you can eat real food, prioritize real food, and there's no barrier to entry. Just kind of it's just a mindset shift.
I love that the idea of keeping it simple. That's a really good. It's a good reminder for me too, because it you don't want to drown somebody. You know, like you don't want to drown somebody with a fire hose. Like it's really as
Yeah,
simple as, okay, just eat single ingredient foods. Start there.
yeah, yeah,
And that for
exactly.
me was like, that's honestly what I started with seed oils. I was like, okay, well these seed oils things, and you know, now that I say it, was kind of like it was like a year after COVID. I guess the pandemic was still going on.
Hmm.
So maybe I'm in that same boat. But I was like, okay, well, seed oils, I see all this bad stuff, and now that I started thinking about it intuitively, I'm like, okay, they haven't been around. Diseases that weren't around are now around and actually prevalent.
Hmm.
Okay, how are they made? Okay, well, and then I did like, that was actually the first exposure I had on like social media on Twitter. I did a seed oil history thread that went viral, and it's like,
Nice.
the history of those, it's crazy. They were literally
Engine lubricants.
industrial seed oils. Like
Yeah.
the cottonseed oil, for example, which was the first, they turned it into Crisco. Procter and Gamble, I think it was James Procter and William Gamble, were candlestick maker and a soap maker. I think were what they were, and they realized that there's this offshoot of things, or this waste product when they make cottonseed oil or something, and they realize,
Hmm.
oh wait, we can hydrogenate it and then add this and then add this and add this, and it becomes edible.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
yeah, that's air quotes over edible for anybody that's
Hmm.
not watching, because it was legitimately a waste product, and they added chemicals to it, they hydrogenated it, they did all this crap, and then they marketed it. I think it's one of the best marketing campaigns in the history of the world,
Hmm.
because they marketed it as, oh, it's better for butter, or better than this, better than this. And then you look into it a little bit deeper, you follow the money, and it's like, oh, they were making a shit ton of profit off of a waste product. So they were making other products that were making them money, and then they had a waste product. They turned in the waste product into an edible thing that made them even more money. And that was how my mind worked. I'm like, okay, seed oils, done. I'm gonna avoid seed oils as much as I can. And I'm not like I'm not neurotic about it. I'll go and have a burger with my friends if I want. But like the
Hmm.
99.9% of the time, I do my best to not have seed oils. Um,
Yeah, yeah, and there was so many things like that back in the day where nobody had access to research or independent studies. It's just like you see like the three channels on the TV telling you to go get some Crisco or canola oil, and you're just going to listen to it blindly. And that's, we have the ability now to research things. So if you're young and you're just blindly still eating anything, it doesn't add up. And yeah, man, like obviously I love the breakdowns. I love the scientific Ben Greenfield, Noah Ryan like type breakdowns. But if you can just experiment with your body and go 1 month, see how you feel eating exclusively real food, you're probably gonna feel better. And now 1 plus 1 equals 2. It just makes sense, right? And
yeah.
then you're probably gonna go outside, get sun, feel better. 1 plus 1 equals 2. Like it's not rocket science.
That's a good point. You're honestly just like adding twos onto the thing. It's like you level up by twos because you just
Yeah.
1 plus 1. Like, okay, no seed oils, I feel better. That's 2. I go
Hmm.
outside, I feel better. That's 4. I do this, I feel better. That's 6.
Yeah, don't look at your phone when you wake up. Don't look at your phone before you go to bed. I feel better. Wow, I'm stacking a lot now. It's just a better reality. It's more vibrant. It's more
Yeah,
alive.
simple wins, dude. That's I love that idea. I like the idea of keeping it simple. Like I said, I think that's for diet particularly. I'm with you. I could nerd over some Ben Greenfield breakdowns, or even just like
Yeah,
talking to Noah when I was down there, just like, hey, what does this do? And he's like 15 sentences later, I'm like,
yeah,
totally understand.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
really,
Like,
but
that
yeah,
guy's
that
a
makes sense.
wealth of knowledge, man.
Yeah, but it's just like I love that stuff. I love that stuff
Hmm.
a ton. But I also like I don't know, your feelings about Liver King is a good example. I thought Liver King was a massive good to the world because he was just
Yeah.
like eat raw or eat organs, eat
Hmm.
real food, and work out. That's literally
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And he was doing it, and it's
Yeah,
like everyone just wants to point out to the one fact this guy's on steroids, but I think like that's just like anything, the vocal minority or maybe the vocal majority with him just because he was so big. But I think he did change a lot of lives. Like I think people were able to realize at least like opening their eyes to maybe like organ meat and these things that we've been eating nose to tail for forever are probably good for us.
yeah, and it wasn't like this super scientific approach. It's kind of just like, hey, here's me being roided
Yeah,
up and jacked. I eat
yeah,
this, do it. I'm actually like I'm kind of an evangelist for Liver King in a way. I don't like consume his content anymore, but
yeah.
I mean, so I have this vision of my life and where I want to end up. And I would have conversations with teammates and stuff like this. And for a little context, my teammates, my last year of college, they would literally call me Liver King because
Nice.
I was a dude eating raw liver. I was grounding before games. I was getting sunlight, all this stuff like that. But
Awesome.
nonetheless, objectively, like I want to have a family. I want to be wealthy. I want to be
Hmm.
impactful. I want to like impact my community and make people's better, or at least give people opportunities to better their lives.
Yeah.
And I thought about it objectively. I'm like, yo, Liver King has a beautiful family that he loves dearly and is like
Hmm.
his priority. He's massively wealthy. He's impacted millions of people. I'm like, objectively, that's a pretty like he's like winning, you know?
Yeah, he's 100% winning, and anyone who's talking shit is probably losing. Like,
Yeah,
no one is out here vocally and publicly talking bad about him when you see the type of life he's living and what he's doing.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome. Um, we were talking about processed foods, and you mentioned something like beef tallow in the grocery store or cereal in the grocery store, and I thought of honey. So I
yeah.
think that's kind of a good segue. Um, Helios honey, what's the story, the impetus of that? Like, how's that gone? That's it's been pretty cool to start seeing that like pop up in my buddies' houses and stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. Helios Honey is on a bit of a hiatus now because we're, like, I actually just listened to your episode with Vance in preparation for this, and he was talking about how if you have like a 3 month business plan, it's probably going to be like a year.
Yeah,
Like the reality of things is that things take longer, but the more patient you are with these types of projects, the better and more fruitful they're going to be in the long run. But the focus there, man, was I when I really went full tilt on my health. I went animal based, and that really helped a lot of things. So I was just fruit, meat, and honey for like almost a year, and honey, like I put honey on everything, even to this day, honey on everything, like eggs, rice, even water. Like I'm always eating honey.
steak.
So steak of, yeah, 100%. And yeah, Helios honey just came to me. The word, just the name, and it sounded amazing. I was already talking about honey a lot and posting a lot about honey. Um, and then the only thing is that a lot of honey on the shelves, even if it's raw, is going to be it's going to have a lot of glyphosate because these bees will go within a 5 mile radius to pollinate, but it doesn't mean that they know whether or not there's glyphosate or pesticides on these plants that they're pollinating. So the way that we get our honey is very controlled. They will go 5 miles, but not if they don't have to. So if you just surround the hive with glyphosate-free plants, like, they're going to pollinate that. So that's a big thing because glyphosate leads to a lot of damages in the gut and the gut lining, which could lead to you not being able to absorb the nutrients in your food properly and fully. So that's kind of the focus with Helios honey is just raw, unheated, glyphosate-free honey, and it's been a journey to create that. It's been awesome.
It's also it's delicious. Packaging is awesome. The branding is phenomenal.
Thank you.
I want to evangelize that. It's freaking awesome. I can't wait for it to come back out. But I didn't know that about bees. So do they not? I'm assuming they wouldn't know the difference between a plant that's been sprayed with insecticides or glyphosate or anything like that.
No, they have no idea because it is like trace amounts, and they're still pollinating and they're still doing their job. It's just like modern man's input on nature has just made it so that a lot of things are sprayed with pesticides.
And they I'm assuming this is well documented because intuitively it makes sense. I'm sure that they can test like the glyphosate levels in honey and
Yeah,
notice, okay, yeah, there's glyphosate in here.
yeah, and a lot of them do. If it doesn't say glyphosate free, or it doesn't have to say it, but a lot of people don't realize that that's even a selling point.
Yeah.
But a lot of them do. And if it's in plastic, you don't want any like leaking microplastics into your honey. So we have a completely glass jar with a wooden dipper.
Yeah, this is I actually I kind of want to spend a little bit of time on this because once again I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I feel like you do such a good job, like I mentioned it, like keeping things simple for
Yeah.
people to digest. And we were kind of talking, me and my buddy were talking about Solbra as well. How he never really even quotes studies or anything like that. He's kind of just like
Yeah.
trust his intuition. He's like, yeah, this is good for you, this is bad for you, and it's not like the scientific breakdown that we're talking about. It's like simple so people can digest, and I think that's why also he's had a big impact on a lot of people. But glyphosate is one of those things. Like you hear that, and a lot of people are like, okay, whatever. I should make a post about this or maybe like find the link. There's some. My doctor back home, my base doctor, who's just a G, Dr. Madelone, if you're in Atlanta, Holistic Medical Services. But he has these graphs, like tons of graphs in this like binder, and it's all these health correlations. It's like literally cancer, autism, heart disease, Alzheimer's, chronic inflammation, metabolic disease, all this stuff, and then overlaid with glyphosate. And take a guess at exactly what's going on. They're like the exact same graph.
Yeah, I mean, dude, glyphosate is in Roundup. It's what you kill weeds with.
Yeah.
So, like, all the fruit, all the veggies that you see, in these huge agriculture farms, and there's just this thing flying over them, spraying glyphosate on them, and then you get to go to the grocery store and you eat that, and it's just festering in your stomach. So obviously, I'm not going to say that you like if you don't have to be perfect again, but if you can opt for organic and you can afford it, you should be getting organic with everything, with produce, with everything.
Yeah, it's one of those things for me. Like he really hammered it in with me. That's like one thing because it's so prevalent nowadays. I think it's like billions of pounds of glyphosate are sprayed in America alone, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
it's insane.
And then I even did like a little research on Monsanto that originally made glyphosate that got bought by Bayer, but Monsanto made Agent Orange. You
Mm,
remember Agent Orange from Vietnam, like the stuff that was killing a bunch of Vietnam vets because they would spray it over the forest, and then a bunch
yeah,
of people came
yeah,
back and they started getting like really sick and cancer and things like that. Well, the war ended, and that was their money machine. So they're like, oh shit, we need a way to make money. So then that's when they started making glyphosate, and
damn, that's
they've been
crazy.
sued. They've been sued numerous times for like lots of money.
And
Um,
what they just come out on top every time,
no, they
just
just
keep it
pay it,
going.
and they're like, we're making so much money, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, yeah,
No, seriously, like I
it's
think one time they
ridiculous.
got sued for like a couple billion, and to them it's like, okay, they make 10x that a year. It's like I don't care.
Yeah,
Okay,
crazy.
write it up to like a cost of doing business, which is so sad. But
Yeah,
from the Helios perspective, like I'm always curious about like e-commerce endeavors. Like so that was like sort of the mission, which I totally love, and um, as I
yeah.
mentioned, I'm a big fan of it. Like, what was it like just putting something out there, e-commerce, and doing that whole thing?
Yeah, it was really running, gunning it, like shooting from the hip. I had never done it. I had never started a business. Like I said, like before I saw people winning on social media independently, I didn't even have like a notion of the possibility of how to start something like that. So the fact that I had, a genuine audience and I was putting out genuine content and I just saw that lane, I was just like, yeah, let me launch this, and it was a learning experience. I mean, it went great, sold out both drops pretty quickly. Um, I just think there's little things to iterate, and I also want to expand the product line. I mean, the Helios honey, the potential there with honey balm, honey skin cream, like there's just so much things that the honey could bring. But what I'm starting with is a pre workout like lozenge,
Nice.
so it's just going to be honey, mineral rich salts, maybe some caffeine or taurine in there. I'm not sure yet, but that's the next product. And just going into manufacturing that is a huge obstacle in itself, but just a learning experience, man. It's all like in due time. I just zoom out a little bit, and in a long enough time horizon, I'm making lozenges by the day. So it's going to be great.
Yeah, that's another really good insight there. I think, and Vance's point on that is so true from like a time horizon perspective. And
Hmm.
I say this as a young man who is not wealthy and has not built a successful business or brand.
Hmm.
But the way that I think about it, the way that I believe it works is it's really just a law. It's all a war of attrition. Like if you don't quit, then everything is data. Is what I is
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
tell myself because
Hmm.
to kind of keep myself on the journey. It's like okay, well if I don't quit, then whatever just happened, win or lose, massive expense that I just lost at a manufacturer or whatever it may be,
Hmm.
just data. I'm gonna make this
Yeah.
adjustment. I was just talking to my buddy just now, like right before I got on here, about like just some less. He's launching a product and it's freaking awesome, and he's talking
Cool.
about already things that he's learning and that he's gonna implement. And I'm like, dude, it's such a valuable lesson, such a
Yeah, and,
valuable
and
lesson.
that and that's what's so cool about like the mindset that comes with this sphere that we're involved in is just this irrational optimism, right? Like just whatever happens, that you simply just keep going. Like you're not gonna lose unless you quit, and we just don't. We're not built that way. So you keep pushing, and people like Vance, people like Eric, and like Sobra. I mean, those are perfect opportunities to kind of see, you just keep going, you make the right product, you push it the right way, you build the business with the right foundation, and it's simply going to work.
Yeah,
You just need to keep putting one foot in front of the other and put your foot on the gas, man.
yeah,
Which, by the way, all those products are great too, like soul supplements,
yeah.
methylene blue, the pine pollen based supplements, everything. It's all quality, which is the most important part.
Yeah, that's a great point too. I was just talking to my buddy like, about that exact thing. I'm like, you know that this product is phenomenal. Like it is a phenomenal product, and you know that and you
Yeah.
believe it.
Hmm.
with that in your mind, you can be so convicted about your moves and your sales and your strategy, like the conviction from that, like knowing Helios Honey was exactly what it was, what you're saying it was, that it was a legitimately good product. You can move with that conviction that makes things happen. There's
Yeah.
there's this idea that my mentor has been sharing with me recently, like the amount of action you take towards a goal is 100% predicated on your belief that it will happen.
Yeah.
And like if the reason I bring that up now is like your belief that something will happen is predicated on like the authenticity and the genuine belief you have in the product or the business that you're selling in that domain. Like if you don't actually believe in Helios Honey and you're just like shilling it, then it's not gonna
Yeah.
succeed. But since you have that conviction, it's like you're exactly right, bro. Over a long enough
Yeah.
time horizon, it's gonna be.
Your actions are predicated on your beliefs, and your beliefs are predicated on your thoughts. It's like if you have this belief system, I'm sorry, your thoughts are predicated on your beliefs. If you have this belief system that you believe in your product, you believe in yourself and what you're capable of, and that it will work, then you're just going to do the right things that need to make it so. With anything in life, whatever goal you have, if you're in it for the right reasons, it's gonna end up going right.
I completely agree. There's nothing I can add to that.
Yeah.
The social media thing, I kind of want to pick that back up, just because, like you just mentioned, three dudes that I know through social media, that you know through social media, and the list of those goes on and on and on. Your life has 100% changed via social media. I'm speaking for you, but I'm assuming
Yeah.
my life has 100% changed from social media. I'm curious about just like your general philosophy on social media as a tool and how you use it in your life.
Yeah, I think there's far too much resistance with people like nowadays as far as their phone. I think to build a brand on social media or to build a business over in pretty much any capacity now, you're gonna have to have somewhat of a phone addiction. So it's just where are you placing that time, and are you balancing it with everything else that makes you human, right? Like, are you like, it's crazy. I think Brute the Force on
Yeah.
Twitter. Yeah, he kind of talks about this, that at some point it flipped where we used to kind of go on the internet to charge up to go into the real world, like nature, and to go out and play sports or whatever it is. And now it's kind of the opposite, where people are on their phones so much that grounding and working out and being out in the sun is kind of charging them just to jump back online. That might sound kind of twisted and sad, but if it's true, it's true. I mean, if you have to develop this relationship with the internet and with social media that helps you build a life that you want to live, as opposed to showing up to one of these corporate jobs and giving your energy to somebody at the top who is figuring out the game right, then if that's what you need to like have your energy sovereign and for you to be in control of your life, then that's just what it takes. You don't need to have this constant friction and resistance. Oh, I'm on my phone too much. Or you just need to have like the discipline and the courage to make sure that you're not on your phone for the wrong reasons. And if you are, you notice it quickly or at the wrong times. Like I said, like when you wake up, the first thing you should do, and this is something I used to do, which is why I keep like harping on it, is just getting your dopamine from your phone first thing in the morning. Is setting your day up for wanting that dopamine from that source for the rest of the day, whether you realize it or not. Like if you go out and you program these habits of movement and sun, like we spoke about, then I'm sure your relationship with your phone is not going to be as toxic as you think.
Now that you say that out loud, I've had that thought, and I now remember that I got that from you. Like I remember you saying that, where you're talking about
Cool.
that exact same thing, and I've had that thought before in my head. Like, okay, it's almost like a little, it's like a plane, like a plane, or a
Yeah.
plain, or whatever it's called, like a plane of glass that you break. Like once you break that
Yeah.
glass into that dopamine, it's like, okay, now that dopamine's you're gonna be searching from that dopamine hit. But if you just like maintain the frame and don't go past that and go get your dopamine or whatever your source of excitement or energy from something else, and then
Yeah.
it will compound. That's
Yeah.
that's
Definitely.
such a good idea.
Yeah, I
The
mean, we're so vulnerable in the morning. Your mindset is so ready to be morphed. So you have to like create that pattern in your life where it's just a reflex. You get up, your phone doesn't even exist yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, I'm out here taking pictures of the sunrise and whatnot, but I'm not scrolling and everything. I just bring it
Yeah.
out there. And, yeah.
Well, that's the inherent paradox of social media. That is probably a conversation in and of itself. Because you mentioned something interesting, like the way of the world now. It's kind of just how it is. Like technology and social media is a massive part of it. And I have a
Yeah.
friend. If he's listening to this, he'll know who he is, and I mention him all the time because I think he's an absolute legend. Who has I think he's winning the game. And what
Mm-hmm.
I mean by that is there's this idea that the only way out is through. And
Yeah.
so he's used social media. Many people actually, now that I say this, but one in particular, he used social media to build a business that legitimately impacts people in a positive, like tangibly visceral positive way. And
Beautiful.
now, because of the income and the impact, the value that he provides, he earns income, and that income that he earns allows him to do like real world stuff, like work with his hands and work with land and animals and things. So it's like this. What you just said just reminded me of the idea that the only way out is through, and perhaps I'm just like reaffirming that to myself because I have that resistance sometimes, to be honest with you. And I
Yeah.
have a podcast and I post on social media, so it's kind of funny that I'm saying that. But
Yeah.
like I'll have a post written up, and I'm like, dude, why am I even posting this? Like what's the actual intention of me posting this? Or I'll have a thought that I want to share. I'm like, okay, well, what's the actual intention of me wanting to share this or whatever? There is this resistance, like, okay, I'm in this place, I want to get on my phone and share something.
Hmm.
Why don't I just like not do it? So how do you navigate that? Is that something that you experience or
Yeah, definitely, man. As a creator, like there's this weird internal voice that's like, oh, if I'm not very consistent with my posting, I'm gonna be left behind or something. But that's kind of like an intrusive thought that simply isn't true. Like if you post something that is true and genuine to you in that moment, and it hits you, and it's something that you resonate with, and you're not just putting it out for nothing, then it'll like it the posts that do the best for me is when I'm literally feeling it in the moment and I feel it inside of my bones. If I'm just putting it out just to get it out, usually it doesn't even do well. And there's a lesson there. Like you need to be able to feel and really connect with your content and the message that you're putting out.
yeah, that's a really interesting point. Like I feel like people can sense that authenticity for sure. Like whether or
Yeah,
not it's subconscious, they can be like, you can just kind of
exactly.
tell like what was the intention. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it that from my perspective. I don't even necessarily think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's almost like a self audit, not to just post a bunch of
Yeah.
BS stuff that's like vain and that's like trying to just fill my ego up and whatnot. But like it's an interesting thing because I think you can go too far and then withhold a message that would help somebody or that would even help you.
Yeah,
But
and like what you were saying about the only way out is through. I think a lot of people are using their phones and using this technology as completely the opposite of through, like just as a distraction to completely avoid everything that gives them a solution, and that's why everyone has all this anxiety and stagnant, and they're just like helpless almost because it's like learned helplessness. They're just teaching themselves and rewiring this pathway that like basically glorifies them listening to their distractions instead of their inner voice, instead of things that they have to do to make them feel whole.
valid point,
Which is
dude.
so true. Yeah, so real.
That reminded me of my buddy Luke who had this idea, shared this idea with me that so like say I go on let's use Twitter and let's use Instagram. Okay, so say I go on Instagram and I spend 30 minutes on Instagram. One 30-minute session, I'm sitting there and I'm just doing this. Just scrolling, checking out a profile, scrolling. That's 30 minutes of time, right? So that's a 30-minute period that I will never get back. That's my invested. I just invested that part of my life in that activity, and I got a really negative return because the return is actually the drainage of my energy. So the
Yeah.
energy that I just gave these people, I gave this platform, I literally just made the people at this company money. Like I gave them my money essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the same exact 30-minute period if instead of scrolling, I'm creating something, whether it be like a well thought out caption or a really aesthetic photo that moved me, or a post about some sort of fitness or a post about something that helped me.
Hmm.
I'm using that 30-minute period to share and send a message and to input. That's
Yeah.
the same investment. Like I'm investing that 30-minute period, but the ROI is immensely positive because I become a fountain of energy as opposed to being drained of my energy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that, dude, when he shared that with me, I've thought about that a lot. Like, that is a, because when you're sitting there scrolling, it's like, okay, I could be creating right now. Like, I could be
Hmm.
doing something, and I'm still using the platform. So it's like, that's out of the question. That's level playing field. I
Yeah.
could be using the platform, as Coach Sprouse says, I could be using it as opposed to being used by it. So I
Yeah.
don't know your thoughts on that, but that was an impactful idea that I heard.
Yeah, and I think like what just came to mind is like when you are scrolling, like there's a lot of people that inherently just aren't creating content. They're just not that type of person, or they think so. I think it's like the more you scroll, the less you feel about yourself. Like you're so involved in what everybody else is saying that you don't feel like you have a voice that's worth being heard. So the more like the more you cohesively create a philosophy and a message that you want to put out because you live by it and you're embodied by that message, the easier it is to feel like you're worthy of being heard, or you have a voice that you want other people to hear, and a voice that can possibly help, as opposed to just absorbing like brain rot, to where you feel like you don't have this voice inside you that deserves to be heard.
Yeah, I've never thought about that either. That's a good way of thinking about it. And kind of back to the, and like as a lot of times on the podcast, I'm sort of thinking out loud. So pardon if this is not like a coherent thought, but
No, you're good. You're good.
the same type deal. Like, so the reason I think that you feel, or that I would feel if I scroll and scroll, because I agree with you, that's an interesting framework I've never really thought about. Like, if I sit there and I'm like, um, scrolling 15 different accounts or 30 different posts or whatever, I start to lose the sense of like, okay, well, I shouldn't post this or I shouldn't post that, just because there's already so many accounts doing X, Y, or Z. But if I just spend that time not even looking at those accounts and just creating something, it's as opposed to it being a drain. Like, I'll reiterate that because I want to reaffirm it to me. It's like, as opposed to it being a drainage of my energy, I become a fountain of energy to others, if that makes sense. Just like the energy drainage, that's a really important thing that I've never really actually verbalized or articulated. Like, the I can literally, social media can either drain my energy or I can put energy into the ethos. And then I know somebody who once said that, like, how do you have this thought about social media that like consumption is bad, or that consumption is not necessarily the best thing, but then create content for people to consume in the same vein. And they said, I meet people where they are, and I actually agree with that. And my justification for that is logically. So I take a step back. Okay, have I consumed content on social media that has benefited my life positively? Unequivocally, yes.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
even a question. Have I consumed content that has been negative? Unequivocally, yes. So it's like, how do you optimize and skew your consumption and be like strict and diligent with it, with and intentional with the consumption part, that it's the content that benefits your life.
Yeah, I mean, if it benefited you, then you can kind of just recirculate that energy and try to make it benefit others, man. And it's the same thing, like I was saying with if you're working for a corporation, like this kind of really changed my view. Not to like pivot, but the same like energy drainage as far as money, like what money is money is time, right? Like, I mean, money is energy, but because energy is time, like you're showing up to clock in for a job and you're giving the head of that company your time, which is essentially your energy, and you're exchanging that energy for money. So you're basically giving, like, it's kind of the matrix in the way, like this person at the top is siphoning your daily energy just so that they decide that they are worth more than you, and they can have all this freedom and they can have all this opportunity, but not you. Just
Yeah.
simply why? Like, so if you're on social media and you're giving your energy to the system rather than like funneling your own energy separate and then funneling it into social media and helping others with that different form of energy, that's how everything is cyclical, and it creates more momentum and positivity for everyone.
Yeah, the corporation comment is interesting too, because I can speak to myself, like, from baseball perspective. I had a bunch of coaches over my life, which are essentially just leaders. Honestly, you could say they're like head of corporation in a way.
Yeah.
And some coaches, I felt that was the case. I felt that I was like just like a tool for them. Like it wasn't like a personal relationship. They weren't pouring back into me. And some coaches, it's like, okay, I want to follow this person. Like I want this person because they are more experienced. They're in a a point of authority or a position of authority. I want to follow them. Like I am eagerly giving them my energy because I know they're pouring it back into me. And so there's
Yeah.
also that dichotomy there, like between, because I don't bash on corporate jobs a lot, but I do think that it's just a very fine line. I think that um, it's a very important decision to make, like who you work for. So if
Yeah.
you're gonna do a corporate job, I just think it's extremely important to be massively intentional about who is your leader. Like who are you giving your energy to? Are they pouring it back into you?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, as you mentioned, I think just kind of wake up and then give their energy to this corporation and don't get any in return, which is a
Yeah,
bad
definitely.
investment.
And I'm not trying to bash on corporations or corporate jobs either. I'm sure there's people that are doing it for the right reasons. I just think there's a vast majority, like we said, that kind of just fall into it, and they're unknowingly like happy with the check that they're getting, but giving their energy to somebody at the top that doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this phrase, I guess, syntax, or like two words that you use a lot, and it's like part of your brand, I guess, sovereign and optimal.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like how that came to be, and like how that came to kind of be like your simplified ethos.
Yeah. Yeah. So sovereign and optimal, man. I think being sovereign, mentally, just having a mindset that obviously you're going to have these influences because that's just life, and they're going to kind of create who you are, but finding a point and reaching a point in your life where you know that your thoughts are coming from you or from God, or you're channeling God and the ether like properly, so where you know that you are sovereign and whole, free. But then sovereign can also mean, like living off a grid. Like I really want to have a farm. I want to have a self sustaining land and a family. So that type of sovereignty is a huge goal as well, and I think it is for a lot of the people that follow us. And then you mix that with being optimal as far as like healthy and vital, living with vitality and strength. I think having those two, you're an unstoppable force. If you have a sovereign mindset and an optimal body, then you're probably on a good path.
Yeah, I love the word sovereign. It's probably one of my favorite words in the English language, to be honest with you. I think
Yeah,
it's like forgotten. I feel like
yeah,
intentionally, perhaps it's been like buried under a lot of things, because the less sovereign you are, the more easily or the more necessary it is for you to be reliant on
yeah,
another entity. And
yeah,
so I think that speaks to how we talked about big food, big pharma, big medicine, all this stuff, the big government. Like the
yeah,
less sovereign you are as an individual, the less capable you are of operating freely and responsibly in your own environment, the more
hmm,
it is absolutely necessary for you to survive to rely on other entities.
yeah,
Which I think sovereignty is just massive. And then optimal is obviously a great word. I used to say, the reason I ask, I used to say a lot. I even think maybe in like the original description of this podcast, it was like the podcast for the sovereign and the vital.
ah,
Um,
cool,
because like vitality is sort of same general ethos. Like
yeah,
um, it's just important. Like you, and also they kind of go hand in hand, like you said, because if you're living optimally and you're healthy and you're vital, you're you're almost required to be more sovereign, and vice versa. Like the more sovereign you are, the more required you are to be
yeah,
optimal.
yeah. The more you realize how much you don't need to depend on these systems, how it's all just like this weird illusion that we're fed. You kind of only like you crave that sovereignty. You crave and you inherently become more sovereign too. And the more that you build business. You all of these things kind of feed into that sovereignty, which is so important. You should aim to not have to depend on any type of system to make you who you are.
And who you want to be as well.
Yeah,
On
totally.
that note, you just started a podcast, correct?
Sovereign and optimal podcast. Yep.
How's that going?
It's going well, man. It was in the making for a while, but I'm glad it's finally here. I want to do a lot of not that there's anything wrong with this, but I want to do a lot of like in person pods because obviously Miami is a central
Mm-hmm.
location. So if anyone's ever here in Florida, I definitely want to rip a pod. It'll be like a lot of solo episodes as well, short, long, whatever it may be. Just being able to kind of expand on a lot of the topics I've been posting about for a while, and be able to like articulate my thoughts a bit more too, rather than just writing. It's going to be huge. So definitely looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, that's on the note about in person podcasts. I'm 100% in relation or in agreement. Which actually note, this is just random. I looked it up yesterday. Agreeance is not technically a word in the dictionary, by the way. I don't know if anybody ever says that. If you ever say,
Agreeance. Yeah, I
yeah,
definitely heard of that before. It's not
I
a
say it
word.
all the time. I looked it up and it's like new word. It like wasn't in the regular dictionary. I don't think, but
Well, now it is.
yeah, exactly.
It's in
Nonetheless,
the
I'm in
Nolan
agreement with.
dictionary.
Yeah, exactly. Tyro dictionary. I'm in agreement with that. I have a philosophy. I won't do like I've had several people on the podcast multiple times. The third, if I do three, they has to be in person. Like I'll do
Nice.
two, maybe if they're virtual. But there's something different, and you can. I don't know if you've done any in-person pods yet, but it's a means to an end. Obviously, I want to connect with you. I'm so glad we're having this conversation
Yeah,
and
of
being able to
course,
build
of course.
rapport and relationship. But it's a different thing altogether to be in person.
Yeah,
Even if you can do it outside, I've done some cool pods like outside on the beach with one of my good buddies. Like that type of environment, it's just awesome. You can't beat
yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, like we said, like obviously we're both outside, which is cool that we're like being able to have these different like air thoughts that are fed to us, but being in person with somebody too. Yeah, I did one episode and it was with Nate Lawrence. I'm not sure if you know him, but
Yeah, yeah.
it was outdoors as well, and yeah, it was great, man. The connection was very cool.
Right on. And then there was something I saw recently about like a community or something. Is that am I mistaken or did you post something
Yeah,
about that?
yeah. So I'm working on this thing called the Heliosphere. It's a community of just solar chads ready to build in all areas of life. So I'm definitely looking to scale that and really, build it up well and properly. And something, another thing that, the time horizon takes time to build, but
Mm-hmm.
it's finally coming to fruition. So if anyone wants to know more about that, you definitely know where to find me.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, I'll link like your socials and stuff in the show notes. So if anybody has any questions, 100% hit you up and connect via that medium. But that's an interesting point to touch on as well, because one thing about social media that I've said before, but I'll just reiterate, this is a perfect example. Like I would never have met you, never conversed with you, never had this
Yeah.
chance to like understand more of who you are and your ethos and your philosophy if it weren't for social media and using it as a tool to connect and create. Online communities, I think, are actually a very useful tool as well, because so say you're in your friend group at home and your friend group is going in a different direction. Like you have this calling to be sovereign and optimal, or you have this calling to be a better version of yourself and to change like your path or alter your path. But your friends from back home, your immediate group of in life real friends, are not on that same path.
Hmm.
One of the beauties of social media is that you can actually find those people online. Now you can
Yeah.
like connect with people in the Heliosphere or the Soul Club or Noah Ryan's Discord or whatever it may be, and you can
Hmm.
connect with these people, and then you can start. Like I've lived with multiple people. Like I'm literally at an office right now that I work
Nice.
at, and I'm living with people that I met on social media that I absolutely love and are my very good friends. So that's another
Yeah,
cool thing
I
I
mean
think
it's
that what
it's
you're doing.
so powerful, man. Like there's nothing stronger than like shared beliefs and people that you could lean on and talk to and just ideate together, sharpen each other's blades. And it's really hard to find that. I'm not really hard. That's a limiting belief too. But if you can just happen to all be in this corner of the internet and just create yourself there, then it's so perfect. Like I went to Hawaii with the Irrational Optimist,
Mm-hmm.
and that would have never happened if I wasn't part of that community. So there's lots of opportunities that could come from something like that. So that's why I think it's just I'm in a position, and I'm honored to be in that position to foster that community and breed it, and just be someone that can bring people together. If shit hits the fan and we all need to meet IRL, like we can all form a little
Yeah,
city with all of our communities, right? Like,
100%.
and that's real. That could definitely happen, man. I don't see that out of the realm of possibility.
Not at all. But and even on that note, like one thing I always encourage people, because I've been like extremely intentional. I always say I'm the guy, like if I get invited somewhere, like somebody's like, "Yo, my like I live in Hawaii or I live here." I'm like, "You should come through." I'm like, "Dude, I know you might invite some people. and they might not come, I'm literally the guy that would be like, yeah,
Yeah,
let's do it. Let's freaking connect. Because the
yeah,
whole
yeah,
idea of like meeting your mutuals or meeting your friends in real life is so crucial. I think that actually is a cap. Like if your friends stay friends online, that's like a cap to the value, or like even like the what would be the word, like the authenticity, or even the realness of the friendship. Like it's almost like a necessary step to meet in real life. I think
yeah, yeah, definitely.
if you can foster, like you said, foster a sphere or a place where people can come online and then build relationships that were like, I mean, who knows, dude? Who knows what businesses or ideas will come from dudes connecting in Heliosphere? That's a phenomenal idea.
Yeah, man. I mean, I got my first to kind of backtrack a bit, like when COVID happened and everything, my whole family is into firefighting.
Mm-hmm.
So like multiple cousins, my father, uncles, everyone's firefighters, fire chiefs, fire captains. So I immediately, when shit hit the fan, I was like, you know what, man, I need to kind of go down this path just to see what it takes. And I became a first responder, EMT,
Mm.
certified firefighter, and I was in the process of doing that, and not that it was for the wrong reasons. I think it was for the perfectly right reasons for the time. I think it taught me a lot about myself, and it instilled this discipline in me, especially in a fire academy. Really found out like who I was physically there, and at the same time, Homer Helios was kind of brewing and turning into to something, and I got an opportunity to do like remote sales, through my DMs, through this guy I was following, and it just kind of it showed me what was possible with just sticking true and being able to network. And not that there's anything wrong with firefighting. I think it's, if you're going to be in the system, it's one of the best careers possible.
100%.
Yeah, it's the nobility, the service, the humility of it. I think it's just such a great job. But me, like what I really wanted out of life was like complete freedom, like location freedom, traveling. I wanted to help people in a kind of different way. Wanted to be as healthy as I possibly could, and firefighters kind of have that not really going for them the most, but it's still a great job. And without paying attention and like leaning into a community on social media, like none of this probably would have happened for me. So there's so many opportunities, and whether it be a job, whether it be just a simple friend, it's such a big thing.
That's powerful, dude. I won't even try to add anything to that. That like I'll probably end up clipping that part.
Yeah,
And I mean that's awesome. I totally agree. I
yeah.
can't add anything to that. On that note, what's next for you? Like, what's the next steps you're taking towards your vision? Like, what are the
Yeah,
next things that
I
can happen?
think really getting this community off of the ground, leaning into the Helios honey a bit more. I'm kind of in that like slingshot phase where it's about to, like, everything's
Yeah,
about to pop. So just being patient, staying true, and just keep pushing the Helios wave, man,
I
for
love it, man.
sure.
Yeah, it's that what is it called? The bamboo. You know the bamboo analogy?
What, lad? It never breaks. It kind of just goes in
Bamboo.
the wind.
So the analogy that I'm thinking of, and whether or not it's true, somebody can fact check me if they want. But bamboo builds like you. When you see a bamboo forest, it literally it skyrockets. Like it's like
Yeah,
holy
yeah,
shit, out
yeah,
of
yeah.
nowhere. It's like bam. But what it's doing, bamboo builds laterally first. Like it builds
Mm,
underneath the surface, underneath the surface, underneath the surface, and then it just
hmm.
shoots straight up.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's kind of like that same analogy. Like you're
for
pulling back a
sure.
bow before you can get that propulsion. So,
Yep.
um, dude, more power to you. I can't thank you enough for taking the time. I feel blessed that we got to connect, and I will see you down in Miami at some point. If you're ever in Austin, or if we cross paths, that would be awesome to connect.
Definitely, man. Both great cities. I want to go up there for sure. So I would love
Yeah,
to do that.
if you're ever here, let me know, dude. Reach out, and like I said, I'll have your stuff in the show notes. Connect with you. Anybody that's listening that wants to like look into Heliosphere or anything like that, connect with you. I'm very much so behind that message and that idea. So more power to you, man. I appreciate you taking the time.
Appreciate you having me on, man. Thank you, brother.